Jeanine Pirro just got out of this meeting. We're going to go, it was live, but we got a re-recording of it. It's about crypto. This is how to keep you from getting scammed because you're being targeted. So am I. I own crypto, but it's just a new form of a very old scam. She's going to show you the steps of how they gain your trust, how they get you to think greedy so that you start turning over your information to someone, and then they drain all your funds. Welcome to Doug in Exile, where I'm here to help keeping you from getting ripped off. Here's Jeanine Pirro.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. We appreciate your being here today. We have a case that we think is pretty important, which is why we made the decision to ask you to come by, because today we take a major step against those who defraud victims by duping them into crypto confidence scams, one of the fastest growing cyber crimes in the country today. This morning in U.S. District Court in D.C., my office filed a 100-page civil complaint to take possession of $225 million, the largest seizure ever in a crypto confidence scam, to deprive criminals of their ill-gotten gains and to recoup money for hundreds of Americans. Now, this is about quick money. It's about old crimes being committed in new ways. Every fast and loose criminal for centuries knows how it's done, and they've done it over and over again, and they continue to do it today. First, they identify their victims, they gain people's trust, and then they take advantage. But what's different now is that the world is changing fast, faster than we can keep up with, and in the world of cybercrime, everything is happening at record pace.
Just so you guys know, I get offers. You already know the basic rule, right? Never click on an email. By the way, I clicked on one 2 years ago and I lost just a ton of money. I've lost crypto. I've lost thousands of dollars in crypto. I have lost my Apple ID account by turning the information over to people. And so even after I've warned all of you, don't click on a link, don't respond to texts to you that sound like they're from an official place like your bank, or even like it comes from Apple or Amazon or PayPal or Coinbase or whatever. Never click a hot link, the little highlighted blue link, or try and get back to them with more information. It's almost always a ripoff, almost always a scam. So they're just trying to get you to give over your information. So as soon as someone says, let me over the phone, they go, oh, sure, I'll help you. Just let me get your password. And then I'll get into the system and we can change your password together. That's how they would sound. And then you give them your password and boop, everything's emptied. They have your ID. They have everything. So don't trust. Number one is don't trust anyone, even if it sounds like the email is from a trusted source. I've gotten stuff from the U.S. Copyright Office that I found out was fake. Almost every email I get from Amazon is fake. So email from Netflix saying we need to change your service details. Don't believe it. Just have someone else look at it or whatever, but don't just jump in there. That's the first thing to do. Is I would remain, anyone who's a stranger texting you, people that sound familiar, it is usually not real.
But criminals, of course, find a way. So here they're identifying their victims through social media, through deceitful job advertisements, as well as fraudulent investment opportunities. So the unwitting victim, the unwitting, unprotected victim, enters this brave new world in the hopes of making a profit, and the criminal seizes the opportunity and takes advantage. But the crime here involves an organized crime ring linked to an international human trafficking syndicate linked back to foreign actors in multiple compounds in Southeast Asia. And as you can see from the chart over there, which is not behind me, but these are sophisticated bad actors who send stolen money through a variety of complex transactions and intermediary addresses between the initial victim deposit and along the blockchain to launder and obfuscate the source of the funds.
Okay, well, so a blockchain is just what all crypto is run on. Through a blockchain, it converts the transaction into a math equation. So it just looks like a bunch of code that's on the blockchain. And so it's how they can hide it and wash it through multiple sources, bit scrubbing, and you cannot track where it goes. So they'll bounce through a whole bunch of what's called crypto wallets, right? That's getting paid to this guy, then that gets repaid to this guy, and that gets paid to this guy. This one splits off into three, then it gets paid back, and eventually it all ends up out in Thailand, or, that's the East Asia places. So suddenly it'll all vanish, and they're really good at covering up their steps. But we have Jeanine Pirro and a bunch of even our FBI guys are on this stuff. We have a lot of spooks out there tracking this stuff down, finding these people, and it's a little late in addressing it, but this is about the regulation of crypto. And remember, crypto is supposed to be deregulated, but it also allows for a lot of crime to happen. There's almost no protections if you get into crypto. By the way, a safe way if you want to get into crypto and if you want to buy Bitcoin, you don't have to go directly and buy Bitcoin like that. You can get, I think they're called ETFs, they're stocks that you can get through your stock trader person and buy stocks that just buy crypto. And so you're not actually holding the crypto, you're holding a normal stock just like you normally do, but it is invested in crypto. And then you'll cash in on the rewards. Sorry if I'm getting too technical.
So the hopeful investor now enters the Wild West on an international scale where the crime is global, where there are no borders, and where the crypto criminals avoid the rules, because this is an unregulated Wild West. But it's not just an unregulated Wild West, it's the wild North, East, and South. And thank God now we have an administration that is taking it seriously. And you may know that within the last 24 hours, the Senate passed the Bipartisan Genius Act.
I think that the stablecoin bill is very helpful. It provides regulatory clarity and stability for the stablecoin industry. Like you were saying, there's already something like $250 billion in float of stablecoins, and that's out without there being a true regulatory framework in the United States. Right now, the number one issuer of stablecoins is offshore. And what this bill would do is provide, like I said, the regulatory clarity and safety. It would bring the whole stablecoin industry on shore. It would enhance consumer protection. The issuers of stablecoins would have to get audited on a quarterly basis. Consumers could be confident that their dollar-based stablecoins were reserved on a one-to-one basis with actual dollars in U.S. bank accounts. And I think this would increase confidence in the industry. And I think that you would also see banks getting into the act. I think you'd see traditional financial players getting involved in it. And that's why the float is expected to grow from, call it roughly 250 billion to trillions of dollars. And that would create more demand for the U.S. dollar internationally. I think you could see other economies start to dollarize from the bottom up as their citizens would prefer to use U.S. digital dollars. And that would create potentially trillions of dollars of new demand for U.S. Treasury. So
Senate 1582 that implements common sense regulations in an effort to make America the crypto capital of the world and to protect victims. So under my leadership, with the support of President Trump and Attorney General Bondi, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia is going to be taking a leading role in the fight against crypto confidence scams. And we are partnering with all our great law enforcement partners here. And we're going to seize and forfeit the stolen funds and rip them from the hands of those foreign-based criminals, all with the eye of making the victim whole again. And finally, let me say the president has made it clear that crypto is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. This could not have happened without the incredible efforts of the Secret Service, the FBI, the Computer Crimes and Intellectual Property section of the Department of Justice. We will continue to root out the bad actors, and we will find those criminals who are taking advantage of unwitting victims who don't know what they're getting involved in. And if you're using the cryptocurrency market to steal, we're going to come after you. We're going to strip you of your ill-gotten gains, and you will be held accountable. So now I'd like to call upon Matt Gagliotti, who's the head of the criminal division in the Maine Department of Justice.
Okay, that's enough of that. I just wanted to give you a quick update showing that we keep up with Jeanine Pirro. And this is very interesting work to me because I'm already involved in crypto. But it does apply to all of you on scams, okay? It doesn't have to be a crypto scam. It could just be your normal bank, or if you have gold or if you have dollars, don't do it. Okay. I even had one of you viewers reach out to me. There was a credit card problem trying to make a donation. And I just said, hold on, you don't have to donate. I don't want you guys getting into any kind of trouble. And I told that person, I said, I'm just happy if you watch. If you watch, you're already paying me plenty. If you watch an entire episode or 4 episodes a day, you're paying me more than even a monetary donation. That's how I get paid by YouTube. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to keep you guys up to date. It's great to hear from Jeanine Pirro on this stuff. If there's any updates on major busts, I will get back to you. But in the meanwhile, stick around and I'll keep giving you tips on how to not get ripped off. Because if you're elderly, I got a lot of elderly people in my audience, 55 and up, 65 and up, you're the number one target of scams. The number one are the elderly. So don't click, don't fool for this, don't buy this stuff. And I'm here to help remind you of that. Stay frosty. I'm Doug in Exile.